Dan Meyer here, and I am back once again to talk to you more about what it means when I say why I left Wells Fargo. So this is, of course, a series of videos talking about lessons I've learned since I left Wells Fargo, and the lessons I learned because I had to leave to learn them. As a first-time entrepreneur, I left Wells Fargo after a 15-year career. Loved working for the bank. It was a really fantastic time working as an analyst. But I kind of hit a ceiling and decided I wanted to do my own thing, be my own boss, make my own money. And so I left Wells Fargo. And really, one of the first things I had to do, of course, was lead generation. And to help me with lead generation, I did a lot myself, but to scale it, to grow it, I had to be able to bring in a virtual assistant to help me do it, to be more consistent with my lead generation efforts. Say, for example, I'm working on LinkedIn, and every day on LinkedIn, you can send birthday greetings, you can send work anniversary greetings, you can add new connections. And some days, as an entrepreneur, I just couldn't do it. I was in too many meetings, I was doing trainings, I was doing events where I would be at all day. Having a VA whose job was able to do it, that consistency really made a difference. So when I left Wells Fargo, I went from having a team of people around me where I focused only on what I did best. And now I had to be a generalist. And really that's where I think a lot of us fail. Is it trying to be a first-time business owner, an entrepreneur, somebody trying to grow a business, and you're trying to do everything. You're not going to do anything great. You're going to do everything just well enough to get them done. And to be successful as an entrepreneur, you have to actually focus on what you do best. So what I tell people, the number one reason why you should hire a virtual assistant, especially to do lead generation, is focus on what you do best and hire a VA for everything else, right? So on LinkedIn, for example, having conversations with quality leads is something I can pick up and do myself. But to get to that quality lead point, to send out the birthday greetings, to comment on people's posts, to constantly share things and go out there and kind of get some buzz around the brand, that's not the best use of my time. Not the best use of your time. So having a virtual assistant do that and just kind of feeding you the warm leads that and you can try to work is a great way to use a virtual assistant for lead generation. It's one of the biggest pros. Focusing on what you do best by having a VA do all the basic grunt work. One of the cons is that you can sometimes stray off course. If you delegate too much to a VA, they're not you and they don't know what you know. So sometimes they start engaging with the wrong people. Sometimes they go after the wrong kind of prospects. Sometimes they don't quite see what you see when you read between the lines in someone's profile, for example, on LinkedIn or on Facebook. If you're looking at websites and you kind of look at something and you can just tell that's somebody you want to work with, whereas the VA may not know that. So it takes a while to kind of train them and get them used to it. It takes months, actually, for the VA to kind of learn your style, to learn your voice and your vision of what it means for it to be on social media. And so if you just hire a VA and let them do their own thing and don't give them that supervision, they'll stray off course. And it's easy to do so, especially if you have a good VA who's just good at pushing stuff out. Where I noticed after a couple of months, I had a VA doing some LinkedIn for me, and he was starting to add people that were out of our scope. People that we weren't ever going to do business with because of their geographic location or because of their business type. And I had to remind him, no, don't add these kind of connections. It doesn't make any sense to send birthday greetings to somebody we're never going to work with. We got to focus on the ones that we can work with. And so kind of constantly reminding him, having check-ins. So we had regular check-ins. First, it was a couple times a week, then it was a couple times a month, and eventually every other month or so. And it worked out pretty well. So I have a new person doing my LinkedIn right now, and I'm meeting with her on a regular basis. And so you have to kind of front load or onboard your time so that you don't have the con of straying off course. The great thing about having a VA is it allows you to be scalable and flexible, right? So you can set up new pages, you can join groups, you can do things that you would never have time to do yourself. If you're really going to grow your business on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok, you need to have time going out there and looking for influencers. You need to find what people are doing and saying that's getting clicks. You want to figure out how to replicate that. You want to come up with a strategy so that the content that you're pushing out in social media reflects what people are going to want to consume. And again, we can't always do that ourselves. To be scalable, to be able to grow, we have to have the flexibility of kind of going at where things are at. And it may not be where we're most interested in. It may not be what we spend most of our time on, but a VA can be assigned to do that and kind of keep you current, give you pointers, give you feedback, give you direction, even build a strategy for you. It's definitely one of the pros. Another con of virtual assistants is that you can become too dependent on the VA for lead generation. And if that VA leaves, then your whole lead generation crashes. So you want to make sure that you're having the VA build a structure where they're putting all the leads into a Google Drive, somewhere where you have access to. You want to make sure that they're documenting their process. So if ever they leave, you don't have to start from scratch. So one of the things that we've done is that whenever I train a new VA, I always have them document, and we start kind of like this process plan. And even though I've done it before, I have the VA do it themselves so they learn it. And then so we're always refining it. And then I have a master document that I keep that I always update for myself. But the bottom line is they're constantly engaging with what they're doing so that if they were ever to leave, I could replace them. I could have somebody, hey, take over this folder, look at this file, look what the VA was doing, look at the scripts they're sending, look at the kind of connections they're connecting with, look at the people they're trying to get to follow us. And that way their training is quicker, and it's not starting from scratch every time. Becoming too dependent on one person to do your lead generation can be problematic. So make sure that you either have multiple people doing it, or if you just have one person, make sure they document things so when they leave, you still have the ability to keep things going. And the fifth thing I'll talk to you about is I think the most important. This is why we have VAs, is it's cost effective, right? So lead generation requires a good effort. You have to constantly be touching leads, right? People say you got to talk to people 10 times. You got to reach out 10 times. And on those 10 times, it's not really something effective for you to be doing yourself. Your ROI, your return on investment, will come when you're only talking to qualified leads. And the qualified leads are the ones that the VAs can screen, can get to you because they've looked at their profiles, they've had initial conversations, they've had an initial back and forth, and make sure that when that person gets to you, they're ready to work with you. That's the goal of lead generation, right? It's to find leads and funnel them so that the decision maker, the person that's running the business, the one that's going to close a deal, is only in front of really good leads. So the biggest pro, I think, to having a virtual assistant is that they really are cost effective, right? So if you figure out what your time is worth and how much time you would spend on lead generation yourself and what that would cost versus what it would cost to hire a VA, you're going to find that hiring a virtual assistant for, $10 an hour or so is better to go. So that's what we do at Sonic VA. I have lead generation specialists that know how to use LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or any social media you want to use. We can do email. We can take an email platform. People have things like MailChimp or Aweber. We can work with funnels like ClickFunnels. So whatever it is that you want to invest your time in for lead generation, the VA can work with you. So if you're interested in learning more about how you can get a virtual assistant to help you do your lead generation, to avoid the cons and focus on the pros, feel free to drop a comment below. Please subscribe to our channel, or you can reach out to us through our social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, just my LinkedIn profile, Dan Meyer, virtual staffing expert, or you can look for Sonic VA. I hope this helped. Now get out there and work with your VA to have some amazing lead generation. Have a great day.